Hey everyone, welcome back to Gates Tech. As always, I'm Jer. And did you just get a brand new old iMac computer running macOS High Sierra, only to realize the previous user's account is still logged in? Well, I'm going to show you how you can wipe the hard drive and set up your iMac as if you just brought it home from the Apple Store. First off, if you're on desktop, things you'll need are a mouse and a non-Bluetooth keyboard. If you have to use a wireless keyboard, make sure it's either the Apple Magic Keyboard or any keyboard with a USB dongle. Do not use a Bluetooth keyboard, and the reason for that will be apparent in a few seconds. A quick note before we get started, this computer is running macOS High Sierra, but the method for erasing macOS and reinstalling it will be the same. This is the method recommended by Apple for all Intel macOS versions from High Sierra to macOS Monterey. That includes, like I said, High Sierra, Mojave, Catalina, Big Sur, and Monterey. The method is slightly different for Ventura and Sonoma, depending on if you have an M1 or Intel computer, and if you have a T2 security chip. First thing you want to do is restart the computer using the restart button at the bottom of the login screen. The computer will turn off and then back on. As soon as you hear the Apple startup tone, begin holding Command R and do not let go. A third-party Bluetooth keyboard won't cut it here because you don't have enough time to allow the keyboard to connect with your computer. You can let go when the progress bar gets about halfway. This will bring you into recovery mode. Before we go ahead and erase macOS, if you have any data on that hard drive, make sure you already have a backup. The next step will completely wipe all personal data from your hard drive. So make sure you have already saved everything you want to save before proceeding. Alright, and with that, you should see the macOS Utilities window now. So to continue to wipe your hard drive, go ahead and click on Disk Utility. Next, on the sidebar to the left, you're going to want to select Macintosh HD. This is your computer's hard drive. Once that's selected, you're going to want to click Erase in the top menu bar. If your drive is an HDD, you'll want to select macOS Extended Journaled from the Format drop box. If you have an SSD installed, you'll want to select APFS from the Format drop box. If you have an older Mac made before, let's say, 2016, you most likely have an HDD. If you're unsure, choose macOS Extended Journaled, just to be safe. Leave the name as Macintosh HD. Now, go ahead and click Erase. Then click Done once it finishes. And you're free to close this window. Now it's time to reinstall macOS. Depending on how old your computer is, it may not support the later versions of macOS. So I always prefer to reinstall the same version of macOS that we just erased first, then updating to the most recent supported version of macOS. But there are two methods to installing macOS. The easiest method is downloading straight to your computer while in recovery mode and having it install from there. It's the easiest, but it's not my favorite because results may vary. If your Wi-Fi connection is not stable, the files could be corrupted and cause errors. I'll show you later what error I got when I tried it. Feel free to try it on your own. It's either going to work or it's not. It won't cause any damage. And if it doesn't work, then you'll just have to proceed to method 2, which is a little more complicated, but much more reliable. If you'd like to jump to method 2, go ahead and skip to this time. Well, let's start with method 1. Go ahead and click on Reinstall macOS in the macOS Utilities window. Make sure you're connected to Wi-Fi. If you aren't, then make your way over to the top right corner of the screen and connect to your Wi-Fi by selecting your network name and typing in the password. Once connected, click the Continue button and then click Continue again. After the computer is verified that macOS is compatible with your computer, then it will ask you to agree to Apple's terms. Go ahead and agree. And agree again. Now you should select the disk you would like to install macOS on. Choose Macintosh HD. Then click Next. The computer will then start to download macOS from Apple's website, and then it will install it to your computer. Like I said earlier, this doesn't always work. But if it works for you, you'll know because the progress bar made it all the way to the end, and the next screen you get will be this welcome screen, where you start the typical process of setting up your user account for your new Mac. If you're as unlucky as I was, then you may get an error like this one. it says about negative 399 seconds remaining, in which case you'll need to try method 2, which is creating a bootable installer for macOS. This basically means you'll use a second computer to download macOS onto a flash drive, which you'll plug into your first Mac and install macOS from the flash drive. To start making a bootable installer, you'll need a flash drive that is 16 gigabytes or larger. And note that this will wipe your flash drive, so make sure you don't have any important data on the flash drive you decide to use. In the example I'm showing you, I'll be making a bootable installer for macOS Monterey, but the process is the same for other macOS versions as well. Start by opening up Google on the second Mac and Googling the macOS download of the version you want. Choose the link that leads to viewing the macOS on the Mac App Store. Then click View in Mac App Store. Go ahead and download the OS from the App Store. While that downloads, plug in your flash drive and open up Disk Utility. In the menu bar at the top, go to View and select Show All Devices. Now in the sidebar on the left, you can go ahead and select the highest level of your flash drive. For me, it's called Lexar USB Flash Drive Media. Now click Erase at the top of the window. Name your drive whatever you like. Make sure the format is set to macOS Extended Journal and set the scheme to GUID partition map. Next, click Erase. Once it's done, we can move over to Terminal. What you're going to type is slightly different depending on which macOS version you want to install. So I have these commands in the description so you can just copy and paste. But for Monterey, it's sudo space / applications / install / space macOS / Monterey.app / contents / resources / createinstallmedia, all as one word, space -- volume space / volumes / followed by whatever you named your flash drive. For me, it's Lexar. But like I said, these will all be in the description, so just go ahead and copy and paste those. Press enter, and then enter in your computer password. If this is your first time in Terminal, note that you will not see the characters you type for your password. But trust me, it is typing. After you're done typing your password, just press enter and type Y, and then press enter again. And that should take a while depending on which macOS version you plan to install. When it's done, you can close Terminal and eject your flash drive. Now let's go ahead and go back to our first computer. Now that we're back on our first computer, to use the bootable installer, we're going to need to make sure that our Mac is shut down. If yours isn't, then go ahead and shut it down now. Now let's plug in our newly made bootable installer flash drive, and then power on the Mac. Once we hear the startup tone, let's hold the Option key this time until you see a screen showing your bootable volumes. On the right, you should have the bootable installer you just made. For this install, I'm choosing to use a macOS High Sierra bootable installer that I made. Yours can be a different macOS version, whichever one you just made. A quick note here, even though the computer will not be downloading macOS from the internet anymore, you will still want to connect to the Wi-Fi so they can check compatibility automatically. Now go ahead and select your bootable installer. Then click the arrow under it. It'll take a while to do its thing, but once it's done, you should be able to install macOS without that error we saw last time. So once it's done, it'll put you back into recovery mode. And from here, the process is the same as last time. Go ahead and click on Install macOS in the macOS Utilities window. Then click Continue, then Continue again. Agree to their terms, and then agree again. Select Macintosh HD to install your macOS to your hard drive. Click the install arrow at the bottom. You'll see the progress bar as it begins to install, and that's it. Your part will be done. You'll see that the computer restarts a bunch more times and it goes through a few more progress bars. But once it gets through the last one, it'll take you to the welcome screen, where you can actually start the process of setting up your user account. At this point, your computer has installed and is now running the new macOS version you installed. So congratulations! Once you finish setting up your user account, You're free to restore your Mac from a backup if you have one, or just enjoy your new Mac. Be sure to watch my other videos, see how I upgraded this 2011 iMac and got it running on macOS Monterey, and significantly increased the speed and performance. Thanks for watching.